What's up YouTube, Blightling here, bringing you reviews, guides, let's plays and much more. So today I've got a PvP thief guide for you. This is the particular build that I like to use. This is however my first ever video, so if any of you guys have any comments, advice, anything like that, please don't forget to drop them in the comments box below. That'd be great. So without further ado, this is the build that I like to use. Okay, so first of all I want to talk about our specializations. Okay, so within the specializations we currently take first of all trickery, and within that we take kleptomaniac. Stealing gives you initiative. We gain 2 initiative every time we steal. This is going to be a very steal based build for as our sort of bread and butter skill, if you will. So next up we take thrill of the crime. When you steal, you and all allies gain fury, might and swiftness for 10 seconds, which means we're going to be moving faster, we're going to be dealing a lot more damage with a lot quicker. So we then take preparedness, which increases maximum initiative by 3. More initiative means we get to use more of our skills, basically. Bountiful theft. Stealing grants you and all nearby allies vigor, and you rip boons from your target and grant them to yourself and nearby allies, which is one thing it doesn't mention. Which means we get more boons, the enemy gets less, plus vigor means more dodge rolls for closing gaps, getting away from trouble. Just adds a bit more maneuverability. Next is lead attacks, increases damage per initiative and steal recharges 15% faster, so we get to steal more often, plus we get an extra 1% per initiative we haven't spent, which is great for those auto attacks because that's where a lot of our damage will be coming from. Then we take sleight of hand. Stealing also dazes the target, reduces the recharge of steal. Now this is mainly taken for the 20% reduced recharge. The daze is okay, you know, the 1 second daze is enough to scare the enemy, but it's mainly for the 20% reduction. Then we go into deadly arts. Serpent's touch. This applies poison when we steal. Again, we're a steal orientated build, and while in the down state, attacks apply poison, which is, you know, useful. Then mug. Deal damage and gain life when stealing. So again, we're a stealing orientated build. Dealing damage and healing is always going to be great. Lotus poison, which adds weakness to the target when they're poisoned. We're going to be applying poison quite often, so adding weakness just means another debuff for them, which may, you know, force them to use a cleanse. If not, we're going to be doing a lot more to them. Panic strike. This is a 2.5 second immobilize when we hit them below 50% health, which locks them down on location. Again, will force them to use a cleanse, and you know, at that point we can kill. And expose weakness. Deal more damage if your target is suffering a condition. That's 3 conditions there that we're going to be causing quite frequently. 10% extra damage to a high damage class is, you know, that's a huge bonus to us basically. And then improvisation. You can use stolen items twice, which is amazing for things like the Necromancer's Fear, the buffs that we can get from Mesmers. The random skill category immediately recharged is negligible. I wouldn't rely on it in any way, shape or form. It's useful when it does work for you, but it's not worth relying on. And next we go into shadow arts. Merciful ambush. Stealth yourself and target when reviving an ally. You revive allies 10% faster, which means that we don't need to use shadow refuge too often, and we can use that for actual fight scenarios and for rezzing multiple allies instead, and using that to stomp foes, which is great for saving some time. And then Shadow's Embrace. We're going to be using stealth quite a lot in this build, and removing conditions. It's a solid way of cleansing, and we don't have to take up a skill bar. Stealth skills last a second longer. We can close gaps quicker. We can use that stealth to, you know, position better. It's just, you know, generally it's okay. Stealing grants stealth. We steal a lot. It's another access to stealth, which means more opening strikes, which means more damage. Resilience of Shadows. Stealth effects you apply reduce incoming damage by 25%. If someone's about to hit us with a big burst and we stealth out, we've just negated a quarter of their damage, keeping us up hopefully that a little bit longer. And Shadow's Rejuvenation. Regenerate health and initiative while in stealth. It's great for resetting fights, repositioning. It's basically just a no shit button, you know, just to get you in and out of that scenario and resetting. So next we'll take a quick look at the slot skills. First up will be the healing skill, and for that I like to take Withdraw. It's an 18-second cooldown, which is the quickest one we have access to. It's a evade, which means that we can dodge a lot of damage. It creates a nice large gap and also cures 3 conditions, which is extremely useful for the in and out style of play that this build offers. And it's just far superior to the other healing skills in my opinion. Next, Shadow Refuge. This basically creates a large AoE area that you and multiple players can stealth inside of, which is great for rezzing multiple allies, and it's also great for stomping enemies and getting those kills in. Just bear in mind that you cannot capture a node while in stealth, so try not to be too much of a stealth happy type player, because it can affect the rest of the team. I then use Shadow Step, which is great for closing a gap between you and your enemy, which is also a stun break, so it's great for getting out of those tough situations where you're locked down. And after that it becomes Shadow Return, so you can return to your starting location, cure 3 conditions and break stuns, which is great for getting out of those fights that you feel that you can't win, or you need to reposition, or a scenario where you feel that you need to change up tactic maybe. Next, I like to use Infiltrator Signet, as again this is another large gap closer and it's only on a 30-second cooldown, and it's also another stun break. You can ignore the 1 initiative gain every 10 seconds, you won't notice it too much, but it's great for closing gaps with a short cooldown, and the stun break is very, very useful. And then for my elite I like to use Basilisk Venom, which it's only a 1 second stone duration. However, you'll find that quite often enemy players will start to panic a little bit, and they're more prone to making mistakes. Plus that 1 second can make closing the gap far, far easier. And finally we will have a quick look at the equipment that this build uses. So within here I like to use the pistol and dagger. Wrong way around there. But for that I use the Sigil of Rage and the Sigil of Air. Rage is a gain quickness on crit for 3 seconds, Air is lightning strike on crit. Both of these together just means you attack faster, which means your damage output's a little bit faster, and the Sigil of Air just adds that extra little bit of DPS on top. There are probably a better selection of sigils you can choose, but that's just my personal preference for these. I then also like to use the short bow, which should be in every thief's arsenal in my opinion. It's just far too useful. For that I take again Sigil of Air and the Sigil of Energy. Gaining endurance when swapping to that weapon is great, because that means an extra dodge roll, which could be the difference between closing a gap, getting away, repositioning, just moves you around a bit quicker. And again, Sigil of Air's personal preference. I then take Runes of Vampirism for the extra power, which is really nice, but again you get to then steal health, which is great since we're so glassy. We need some form of survivability. Plus, turning into mist when you're struck below 20% health is kind of your warning light to get out, try and reset the fight, or maybe reposition, move on, or maybe come back to that target later. It's just kind of a very big obvious warning light for you, which is great for trying to survive that little bit longer with such a glassy build. And then I take the Berserker Amulet, because we're a glass cannon build. Berserker Amulet just polishes off nicely with that extra amount of damage we can do, which means we can kill nice and fast. So there you have the build. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I will be doing a few more videos. The next one should be coming out in about a week's time, which will be showing you this build in action, giving you some walkthroughs, and kind of commenting on what I did, what I thought at the time, and what my particular plan was. But thank you for joining me for this video. Don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe. This is Blightling.